whole Boatman family, just regarding the possible move to Houston, and Lord, whether this is a job that they should have, Lord. I just pray that your will would be done in that way. Um, and Lord, thank you for the prayers that you have been answering. Also want to lift up Cynthia as well. I know she's not with us today, but just I pray that you would be with her and everything that she's going through right now. And thank you for being here with us, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good. Oh. Hey, Mo, how's it going? All right. We are still in Jeremiah here. So today is the chapter 40 through 43 section, last days of Judah. Starting in 40. We'll go up through 43.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure. It's good. Oh, I forgot my glasses. Oh, well.
You get to be pink flowers today.
Mm.
Yeah, they're nice contrast. There you go.
Dang, look at that. Does this work? Is this a thing?
You look great. At least I didn't bring my big
It suits you.
So let's get serious now, right? Oh, man. All right. Well, good to have some guests here, you guys. Just relax. It's pretty low key around here, so that's good. Jeremiah 40 through 43. So, what's going on? We like to cover the history, like to make these applications with what's the larger story, what's happening in the Bible, context and things like that. The first few verses of Jeremiah 40, Jerusalem's essentially destroyed. The temple essentially is destroyed or being destroyed. And now you're dealing with the sort of the fallout of all that. And Jeremiah has survived the whole thing. He's been telling the nation, telling the leadership, this is happening, this is going to happen. It's just, you're not going to be able to avoid this, and all those things that we've covered so many times here. But there's three really good principles right off the bat that show up in the first probably 6 verses here. One of those principles is something that Jesus said in his Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Praise the Lord, we've got a meek right here. You lost it. That's right. Yeah, now you're just, what are you now? Nothing. So this is one of the principles. The meek shall inherit the earth. You'll see that play out. You'll see a proverb play out in Jeremiah's life, which is, if you want to look it up, Proverbs 16:7, which says, when a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. So he just, And that's exactly what's going to happen with Jeremiah. And then there is another thing that's said, and I'll wrap all these up, but I want to lay them out for you first. That Jesus says that even the children of darkness are more wise in their generation than the children of light. That is in Luke chapter 16, verse 8. I always had trouble with that one. I didn't understand what that meant really until you see it play out in this scenario. So let me read to you the first 6 verses of Jeremiah chapter 40, and then we'll make some applications here. It says, the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord after that Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, had let him go from Ramah, when he had taken him being bound in chains among all that were carried away captive in Jerusalem, in Judah, which were carried away captive unto Babylon. And the captain of the guard took Jeremiah and said unto him, the Lord thy God hath pronounced this evil upon this place. So, who just said that? Who's the guy that said that? Is this a Babylonian saying that, or is this an Israelite saying that God's judgment is on this place? It's a Babylonian saying that. So the children of darkness are, in their generation, wiser than the children of light. They understand what's happening, but the children of light don't understand what's happening. Okay? That's part of this. Verse 3, now the Lord hath brought it and done according as he has said. This is still the captain speaking. Because ye have sinned against the Lord and have not obeyed his voice, therefore this thing has come upon you. Wow, it's pretty good theology for a Babylonian, or for anybody, really. And now, behold, I loose thee this day from the chains which were upon thy hand. If it seem good unto thee to come with me into Babylon, come, and I will look well to thee. But if it seem ill unto thee to come with me to Babylon, forbear, behold, all the land is before thee. There you go, the meek shall inherit the earth. All the land is before thee. Let's see, where was I? Whither it seemeth good and convenient for thee to go, or thither go. Now while he was not yet gone back, he said, go back also to Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon hath made governor over the cities of Judah, and dwell with them among the people, or go wheresoever it seemeth convenient unto thee to go. So the captain of the guard gave him victuals and reward, and let him go. Then went Jeremiah unto Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, to Mizpah, and dwelt with him among the people that were left in the land. So, sum it up. What just happened here? What has Jeremiah been offered here? To stay, to go, whatever he wants. Yeah. And who made this offer? It wasn't his own people, it was Babylonians making this offer. So three things are at play, 3 principles are at play. Number 1, when a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with them. Babylon is at peace with Jeremiah. They don't have any trouble with Jeremiah. They don't have a quarrel with him. He is on the right side of this thing. And he's on the right side of this thing because he's on the side that has been, it's God's side, it's the Lord's side. And so he's been on the right side of this thing. So his enemies, which would be the Babylonians in this case, they're fine with him. Second thing that's at play is the meek shall inherit the earth. What does the captain of Nebuchadnezzar's army tell Jeremiah? Essentially, all the land is before you. What do you want to do with it? You live where you want to live, do what you want to do. You can come back with me and I'll take care of you, or you can stay here and live out your life. So what is that? That is the meek inheriting the earth. Now, I want to revisit that in just a second. Third thing that's at play. The way the captain of Nebuchadnezzar's army, Babylonian army, explains the theology of what's going on, or the reality of what's going on. He understands completely that this is a result of the judgment of God on Jerusalem and on Judah. And he says, because you guys have not obeyed your God has brought this on you. And now here's the situation. And so what Jesus would say in the New Testament is, the children of darkness are in their generation wiser than the children of light. Why? Because the children of light still have no idea that Jews, people in Jerusalem and Judah, these Israelites, have no idea what's going, they're still not accepting what's going on. All the while, the Babylonians have a pretty good handle on what's going on. And so this is why Jesus would say what he says. It's in Luke, that's Luke 16:8. The proverb about the when man's ways please the Lord, that's Proverbs 16:7. The meek shall inherit the earth is actually a psalm before it's a beatitude. It's Psalm 37:11, I believe. And then it becomes a beatitude. Jesus talks about it in Matthew 5. So those three things are at play right off the bat. That's what's happened. Everything's destroyed, and now the godly are starting to kind of bubble to the surface. And who is on the Lord's side is starting to bubble to the surface here. As far as the meek inheriting the earth, this is an interesting thing. I thought about this, and this is something to sort of flesh out, I would say, if you got time on your own. But I think when we hear that, the meek inheriting the earth, we definitely have an idea of what that looks like. Like one day we just, everything becomes ours or whatever, because obviously we're the meek, so that's going to be, everything's going to be ours. So that's one way I think that we look at it. The real way to look at that is how are people getting, you could say, the crooked buy the earth, or the crooked steal the earth, but the meek are the ones that inherit the earth. That's given to them. It doesn't force them out as like the Israelites are forced out by the land. You corrupt the land, and then God would say it's going to spew you out. It's going to kick you out. And so that's what happens when the land is corrupted. But the principles that are at work are the meek actually inherit the earth. They inherit it. And inherit is kind of an interesting word. Does it mean forever? In Jeremiah's day, it doesn't. He's not there today. He doesn't own land today, but he did in his lifetime. He did. And so it really played out in real time in his lifetime. So it's just I think it's just another way of understanding some of these things that I think we have ideas about, but maybe that's not exactly the way the Bible is presenting it. So Jeremiah definitely inherits the land. In fact, he's going to have a piece of land when the Jews come back in 70 years, come back to it. So he'll have land there.
Well, and verse 6 says there's already still people left.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few people, I think last week when Ben talked, there was 4 people.
Right. There's still people there, and it's a good point, because I think sometimes we'll read like Jeremiah stays, and you get this picture that he's this lone guy just standing around. It's not, yeah, I Am Legend, right? Right. No, there's other things going on. There's other. It's not just like black and white like that. There's other people involved. There's other people that stay in the land because they've been obedient. There's going to be even a governor that's going to be put in place, Gedaliah, and that's who Jeremiah is told to go. If you're going to stay, get with Gedaliah. He's going to be the new governor. There won't be a king. There's not going to be a throne there. The throne is going to be in Babylon, essentially. But as far as people, yeah, there's still people there. He's not the lone ranger. He's going to repopulate the whole Judah by himself or whatever. So yeah, there's things I think when we get to theological, some of these stories, not all the details are explained completely. Sometimes they're just statements about, what's going on. Jeremiah is going to stay in the land, and that's going to be a real thing. And so those three principles are at work right off the bat. Right when the judgment goes on with Jerusalem, it seems like it's not only bad judgment that's going on at this time. This is kind of the end times for Judah here. Not only is this bad judgment that's going on, destructive judgment, but also good judgments, like now the promise of peace to you, now the promise of the meek inheriting the inheritance is coming about now. And so both bad and good, it's just judgment all at once, both bad and good starting to just come to fruition here. And remember, this is about 600, 580, somewhere around there BC, when the destruction of the temple happens under Babylon. So you got that. There's a man mentioned, Gedaliah, and I get really confused on this one. I just told you there are these principles at work, and there are these principles at work. And then the man Gedaliah, what's his background? Why does he get to be the governor? A couple of things. Number one, he understands the theological situation. He understands why Babylon's there. He is going to be a preacher like Jeremiah and telling the people, look, you have to submit to Babylon. This is just what's going to happen. And so he is of that understanding. Second thing is, he does not have any royal blood. He is not from the tribe of Judah. Now, his grandfather has some history of faithfulness. His grandfather is one that found the book in King Josiah's day. Remember, the last good king in Jerusalem, King Josiah's day. His grandfather found the book and presented it, the law, and presented it to Josiah, one of the men that did that. And so he was instrumental in bringing back a kind of a brief revival in the nation. And so that was his grandfather. His father, Gedaliah's father, protected Jeremiah when Jeremiah was being hunted and really, I say hunted and harassed, but persecuted for what he was telling Israel to do about Babylon. And Gedaliah's dad protected Jeremiah during that time. He kind of kept him away from law enforcement and just people who were going to try to kill Jeremiah. He's comes from a history of faithfulness, just people being faithful. And so Babylon understands that. Babylon sees a guy that has some clout with the people. He has some influence with the people. He's kind of a well-known figure already. His grandfather and father were, famous sort of people. And he has the right attitude. And he's not going to be really a rival because he's not Judah. He doesn't have any royal blood. He has Levitical blood of anything. He's a priest. And so they make Gedaliah the governor. Now that's significant. He's not going to be king because there's not going to be a king. They make him governor. Nebuchadnezzar makes him governor over Judah of these kind of remnant that's left there. So that is really verses 7 through 12. And Gedaliah's message to the remnant is, stay here, be planted, and okay, God's judgment is done, and he's kind of swept away the rebellion. And so you that are left, you guys have been faithful, you are faithful, stay here, plant, and be a part of, it's just maybe unfortunate, but be a part of the chastisement of God's chastisement to Jerusalem and Judah, and be a part of Babylon, essentially become a part of Babylon. So that's his message. Even in the remnant, this is so I get confused when I go through this part of it. Even in the remnant, there are still people that do not understand that the fight is not with Babylon. The fight is with God. The problems they're having are a result of their relationship to God, not as a result of their relationship to Babylon. So within the remnant, you're going to have an even smaller splinter group that's going to say, we need to go to Egypt. 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 And Gedaliah is the one saying, no, you don't need to go to Egypt. Just stay here, be planted. And so there's this faction even within this remnant. A guy named Johanan comes to Gedaliah. I'm sorry for all these names, but I don't know how else to identify these people. It's Johanan comes to Gedaliah and says, hey, there's a conspiracy against you even among the people that are left. Like, they don't like what you're saying. I mean, they still don't like what's being said. They still don't like the option, really, that God's given them. They don't like the idea that he's telling them to stay in Judah and Jerusalem. And so they don't like the idea of submitting to Babylon. And so he says, and he warns Gedaliah and says, hey, there is a guy. His name is Ishmael. He is royal blood. He is from the tribe of Judah. And he is plotting to assassinate you. And so Gedaliah hears this information, and what Johanan offers is, hey, I will privately take my security group and go take out Ishmael, if you approve of that. And Gedaliah says this, and I don't know. Gedaliah says, in fact, let me find that verse where he says it. The end of chapter 40, the last verse. This is what Gedaliah says to Johanan. He says, but Gedaliah the son of Ahikam said unto Johanan the son of Kareah, thou shalt not do this thing. Don't privately take out Ishmael, for thou speakest falsely of Ishmael. So Gedaliah suffers from, unfortunately, and I don't even know if you could say suffers from it, but he's going to suffer from it as time goes on here. He wants to think the best of everybody. He does not want to believe that there are people still left in Judah who still have murder in their heart. He doesn't want to believe that. And probably he doesn't want to believe that because he's seen enough fighting, he's seen enough damage, he's seen enough destruction, and he just doesn't want to think about more drama, so to speak. So Gedaliah tells Johanan, you're lying about Ishmael. You're lying about Ishmael. He doesn't want to do this. Don't do anything to him. Don't do anything. And unfortunately, he's wrong. Ishmael does want to assassinate Gedaliah. He does want to kill him, and he does want to remove any authority that continues to say, yeah, bow down to Babylon. So I don't want to say you got. I mean, I think there's value in desiring to see the best in people. I think that's a good thing. I think it's good just not to be cynical, unless you have a reason to be cynical. But this, like I said, this part I have a hard time understanding. I understand there's reasons why he would say that. I understand he may be tired of the fighting. I understand he may be just incapable of thinking about someone with this perspective on life. Bottom line is, Gedaliah says, you're lying about Ishmael. Just let him be. We're going to invite them all. They're all going to come, and we're going to have a big party, and it's going to be, we're going to kind of set things straight and just move forward in a positive way. So, I don't know. What do you guys, tell me what y'all think about this. Because I've got a note written down here that says the desire to see the best in people, and I didn't write it, I read it from somebody. The desire to see the best in people is a virtue, even when it costs you your life. I don't know if that's real, or I don't know if that's good or not. What do y'all think? When is too much? When is it time to be cynical? I mean, when's it time to be cynical of people? Like, when do you start?
When's the time to be real?
Yeah, okay.
He's living somewhere that's not even in a real world. I mean, he's
Right.
make-believe.
Yeah.
So there's times where you just gotta come down to earth and say, reality check, there you go.
Yeah. What'd you say, Jeannie? Yeah. Wise. Yeah.
Depends on how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
Well, I will add,
That's a good point.
I believe an Ammonite king sends
Yeah, yeah.
Ishmael to go kill Gedaliah.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I mean, you had years of Jeremiah and now Gedaliah telling people, you need to live peaceably among the people you don't know.
Mhm.
And then now you have an individual who's of royal blood, who is kind of his own people,
Mhm.
that he's now being told, hey, this guy's going to come kill you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say, yeah, it's definitely like not believable, but I don't think it's like not believable in the sense of like we're trying to be optimistic or something. It's like, why would a person of my own heritage come kill me, kind of deal.
Mhm.
Like, we were just told to live peaceably among people that we don't even know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know when it's time to be cynical with people. To answer that question.
It gets to
Yeah.
that point where, a lot of times to just to pray about it, because there's a lot of people that God has steered me away from people.
Yeah.
That they're, and even I'm a person that if I see somebody that I think maybe needs some help on the highway or something, I'll pray about it. Do I stop? Or
Mhm.
do I go on? And there's been times that I guess God tells me you can stop and help. And there's other times
Yeah.
go on, it's, up to no good, so I don't know, I'm thinking we just have to be in
That's a good point there, because I think Christians generally, you want to love your neighbor, but even the Bible does not present everybody as safe.
yeah,
Like, not everybody is a safe bet. Not everybody is like somebody you need to just hug and just be all, just we're buddies and all that. There are real monsters. Like, there are real people who are bad people, and they need to be put in a place where they can't do those kinds of things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially women are a target, especially when they're by themselves.
Hmm.
And I did a lot of driving by myself. And so, so yeah, I really depended upon them.
Yeah.
I even got in a truck with a truck driver before, and because I prayed and the Lord said, I sent you some help now. There he is, now get in the truck with and go.
Yeah.
I also think,
Yeah.
just lost my train of thought as soon as I started talking.
You also think that
Yeah. I completely lost my
want me to go on and I'll, okay. Okay, so that ends chapter 40. Chapter 40 ends with, you got some promises or principles at work that are happening in Jeremiah's life. You've also got, oh, you got it? Okay.
Okay, so what's written in the law, accusations have to be investigated.
Yes, yeah.
And no accusation should be received based on one testimony, but based on
Two
or
witnesses,
three
yeah.
witnesses, based 2 or 3 independent lines of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Gedaliah's mistake, I don't think is necessarily just plain believing the best about people.
Mm-hmm.
The mistake is a failure to investigate whenever something is brought before him. He just dismisses it. He says outright, "You shall not do this thing, for you speak falsely concerning Ishmael." No investigate. You have no idea.
Yeah.
First of all, Ishmael has motive, because in Ishmael's eyes, Ishmael believes
He should
why
be.
is Gedaliah the one in charge?
Yeah.
I'm the royal one. Gedaliah's not royal.
Yeah.
His family, like you mentioned, was in service of the royal family, but he himself is
Right.
of a royal family. Well, if Ishmael is, you could see motive there.
Mm-hmm.
You could see if a person is, like you talked about the principle of the meek inherit the earth. Well, the opposite of that is that those who are not meek attempt to take the earth.
Yeah, that's,
Well,
yeah.
you could see that if Ishmael here believes he has a right to something, he may step into areas he shouldn't step into in order to claim what he believes is his,
Right.
that entitlement. So there actually is reason at least to be suspicious.
There is.
Which should,
There
and
is.
Then, and then you throw in the fact that someone's outright accusing him, saying, hey, you need to pay attention. This is a thing he's planning on doing. It would have been Gedaliah's job to at least investigate.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I don't
That's
even
good.
think that it's a matter of believing the best or not, because you can believe the best about somebody while investigating a claim
Yeah.
or investigating an accusation. I think it's a failure to do what God would command, which is to
Do some due diligence on this.
go investigate and see
Yeah.
if you can. You have one witness. See if you can find 2 or 3.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's right. I go ahead, Les.
And then adding to that, there's a proverb, I don't know where it's at, but it says something like, better are the wounds of a friend than kisses from an enemy. Something like that, depending on your translation. So the way that I'm kind of thinking about this is sometimes flattery or people who appear to be making light of evil things are also a danger, because they're kind of like when you boil, I guess, animals a lot, like lobsters or the frogs, like you do it gradually, so you can do it with niceness. So kind of trying to listen to everybody's points of view and put it together, but you have to, it goes in with discernment, and you have to be able to make sure that you can still speak truth, because that also goes in with the false prophets who are talking about peace, peace when there is no peace. So the discernment is really particular to not just give graciousness for the sake of graciousness. You have to observe. Does that make any sense? Observe what?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not.
No, that's right. Observe it, and then I would say to what you said, Jake, about the when I read what Gedaliah does to just dismiss the whole thing, like just basically call Johanan, you're lying, you're the liar in this. That tells me he already has like some kind of goodwill toward Ishmael. Like he is already thinking like this isn't going to be a problem, or he just doesn't want to think about it as a problem. Sometimes that's the issue. You just don't want to think about the problem.
That's a good point that you bring up there, which is to say that he's not merely saying, hey, Ishmael's cool. He's also saying, hey, Johanan, you're a liar.
Yeah, you're bringing a false
So
accusation.
by seeking to vindicate or believe the best or whatever about one, he's actively accusing the other one.
Yeah.
because it's not, you can't pretend to be neutral.
Yeah, and maybe he thinks Johannon's after the throne. I don't know. Maybe he thinks that he's got some political motive. I don't know. It's a very, you don't get all the details here, but what ends up happening, you go into chapter 41, and there's this gathering in Mitzpah, and all these, the remnant sort of gathers together under Gedaliah, and they're having a conference, whatever, about all that's going on and who's going to lead and all that stuff. And in the midst of all of that, Ishmael carries out his plan and kills Gedaliah. He assassinates him. And sure enough, it's, so let me find out where we can read that verse. So it's really verses 1 through 10. He kills him right off the bat here. Let's read verse 1. It came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama, of the seed royal, there you go. So he actually has a claim to the throne, but there is no throne, so it doesn't matter anymore. And the princes of the king, even 10 men with him, came unto Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, to Mitzpah, and there they did eat bread together in Mitzpah. And then arose Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, and the 10 men that were with him, and smote Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, with a sword, and slew him, whom the king of Babylon had made governor over the land. Ishmael also slew all the Jews that were with him, even with Gedaliah at Mitzpah, and the Chaldeans that were found there, and the men of war. And it came to pass the second day after he had slain Gedaliah, that no man knew it, that there came certain from Shechem, from Shiloh, from Samaria, 80 men, having their beards shaven, their clothes rent, having cut themselves with offerings, incense. So they're mourning and they're weeping, all that stuff. Verse 6, Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, went forth from Mitzpah to meet them, weeping all along as he went. And it came to pass, he met them. He said unto them, come to Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam. So he's lying about it. He's killed all these people now. He kills Gedaliah, he kills the people that are around Gedaliah. And then people start to show up, and they're coming to Mitzpah for this conference, council, whatever. And Ishmael meets these people and says, yeah, come see Gedaliah. And as soon as they get there, he's going to kill all of them. It's a mass. Yeah, this guy's just gone crazy. So verses, we won't read the whole chapter. But essentially what happens is Gedaliah, in his really, I guess, goodwill toward Ishmael, he was the voice of the Lord along with Jeremiah, trying to tell the people to line up with Babylon. And he's going to join kind of the ranks of guys like Abel, who is killed for his righteousness, the prophets who are martyred for righteousness, really. And so Gedaliah joins that crowd, and he is assassinated. So what do we say to that? I've got a verse here. I'll read you the verse, but I mean, you know it. It says, faith is the victory, essentially, that overcomes the world, 1 John. And the world has its way of handling, Ishmael has his way, the world's way of handling the situation. Gedaliah tries to remain faithful, and he does, and he becomes a martyr. But this is where I'll just take a second to say this. Jeremiah's outcome, Gedaliah's outcome are very different. They're both saying the same things. It's interesting, I will confuse you with this too. It's interesting that Gedaliah never hears anything from Jeremiah about this assassination plot. And so Jeremiah's kind of out of the mix here. But Jeremiah is preserved, he's protected, he's helped because he's on God's side. Gedaliah is assassinated, people around him, because he takes the side of the Lord. That to me, and I don't know if it goes with you too, but within one chapter, you have very different outcomes of faithful people. That is something that is a little bit confusing. But then I think, and I'll try to answer a little bit of that with Hebrews 11. So Hebrews 11, remember, you guys remember Hebrews 11? By faith, Sarah does this. By faith, Abraham does this. By faith, Rahab does this. By faith, David. By faith, so on and so forth. And you go through Hebrews 11, and everybody's faith is expressed differently. It's not, interestingly enough, expressed as, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and thou shalt be saved. It's expressed as Rahab hiding spies. It's expressed as Abraham believing in a resurrection. It's expressed as Sarah believing God for a child. It's expressed as Hebrews going through a fire, 3 Hebrew men going through a fire. And so at the end of that, here's the point. Look in Hebrews. We'll just read this. This is one of those things that I find really unfair, and I don't know how to necessarily address it now, but I'm going to point it out. So Hebrews chapter 11, verse 33. Watch how not only is the faith expressed differently, but the outcomes are all different for the people. Verse 33, who through faith, after you've got this whole list of faithful people, who through faith, verse 33, subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, sounds like Daniel, quenched the violence of fire, sounds like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again. Others, now watch that. Note the contrast. Women received their dead raised to life again. Others were tortured. What? Not accepting deliverance that they might obtain a better resurrection. Others had a trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, they were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all having obtained a good report. So it's the same faith. It's carried out in different ways, and the outcomes are all different. Some folks are, here, I'll just stop there. You get the idea, I think. Some folks see tremendous blessing in their life for their faith. I mean, it's as it's documented in the Bible, people receive children's resurrection. I mean, their sons are back to life, and they're healed, and all these things, and Jesus walking around on the earth, and he's like doing all of these things. People are going through a fire, and doesn't touch them. Lion's den, not hurt. Subduing kingdoms, they win victories. They win these great victories, and then others are tormented and they're persecuted. And so I'm reading this thing in Jeremiah, and there's a sense of just unfairness about it. And I don't know how to sometimes resolve some of that other than to say it's very foolish to compare your life to someone else's life. It's very foolish to compare your faith to somebody else's. I don't know where, where you guys, most of y'all are in your life and stuff like that, but I don't know where everybody is, obviously, and neither do any of us, but the point is people can have very different outcomes with the same faith. And what we usually do is we measure your faith by this outcome. If this happened to you, it's because you didn't have enough faith. If this happened, if you fall on your face, it's because you didn't have enough faith. Well, I mean, tell that to somebody that's stoned to death. It's our metrics, our theological metrics are, our scale is very selfish. We still have a very limited view of the God of the Bible and how he governs things. And so when you can have within one chapter a man who's faithful inheriting the earth, essentially, and a man who's faithful assassinated along with all of his friends, this just seems terribly unfair. And it seems unfair because I'm saying they should have the same outcome, and God's saying they're not going to have the same outcome. They're in different spots in their life. They have different enemies right now. They're facing different problems. And so the outcomes are just not going to be the same. And so so Paul would say it to the Corinthians. He's like, you guys, your problem, one of your major problems is you keep comparing your faith to Deborah's faith. You keep comparing your faith, to Jake's faith. And if I see Deborah stumble or something like that, or I stumble, I'm like, well, I'm just not, it's just not working out or whatever. Or I see somebody go through some trouble in their home or something. It's like, well, obviously they're not following God. It's like, no, that's not true. That's not, those things aren't equal. That's not the equation. And so you have a great example here in Jeremiah. Go ahead, Jake. Yeah, you got Jeannie, if you want to say something too. Go ahead, Jake.
That's all right. I know I had a sister that told one of my other sisters that
Really?
she's having a hard time. My sister, she has a very nice life. I just
Mm-hmm.
told her, well, you have a singing now?
Yeah. Well, and how often is that the answer? It's like you got a problem. Well, you're not reading your Bible enough.
Oh,
You're not praying enough.
yeah, my daughter died. What did you do wrong?
What?
Okay, wait a minute. People will tell you that on things like that. You bury a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you must have had something wrong that you weren't doing right. I'm like, whoa.
You know, and I think what we're looking for is justice. We're looking for, how does this make sense? Like, surely, we're just like Job's friends. Surely there's a reason here. And we don't accept that the world that's created by people is fundamentally unfair. It's fundamentally unjust. It's fundamentally broken. And when you live in that world, there is some confusing stuff that goes on that does not make sense other than this guy's trying to make money, and that's why he ran over you, because he's trying to make money, which you'll find in Ishmael's case a lot simpler than, I want God on Jerusalem. It's just money. It's interesting. Go ahead, Jake. Sorry, go ahead.
So in a cross-reference for it, it's end of John, whenever Jesus is resurrected and he's talking to the disciples, and he tells Peter, he's like, hey, today you dress yourself and you go where you want to go, but a day's coming when men are going to dress you and then they're going to lead you where you don't want to go. And John throws in some commentary saying that in this he's telling Peter the way he was going to die. So Peter then, points at John. He's like, well, what about the kid? Is he going to die too? And Jesus is like, I want him to remain until I come. What's that to you? You follow me.
Yeah.
So the idea being that the same faith that caused Peter to accept his fate as a martyr, wherein he was put to death, or Paul, who was beheaded, or whatever. That's the same faith that caused John, who also is an apostle, to go to exile and receive one of the greatest revelations from God that's ever been given to mankind in the book of Revelation. And he writes that in exile, where he has this vision or whatever it is that goes on
Right,
there.
right.
It's the same faith that causes that to happen, but Jesus' response is what I wanted to focus on, which is to say, if I want this for him, what is that to you? You follow me. And the idea is that, yes, the world, there are unfair outcomes because of the world is unfair because the world is fallen. That's true. But God is sovereign over all of that. Faith, or conquer by faith, and another to die by faith. Both will receive the same kingdom in the end. After everything is judged, after everything is brought together, after everything is made right. You know, Romans 8, after the creation that's been corrupted is remade. So in other words, faith means being faithful to whatever's in front of you.
Right.
And the thing that's in front of me might not be the thing that's in front of you.
Yeah. Even within your own life, like your faith has changed from when you're a teenager to when you're a young adult to when you're a parent to when, I mean, it's just, we say Christianity is a relationship and not a religion. We don't believe that. Because I'm afraid of your relationship with God if it looks different than mine.
Yeah, we say it, but we don't act on it. We act
No.
like it, we act on the words we say, but we expect it from other people
Yeah.
in a certain way, but not of ourselves.
Yeah, and if yours doesn't look like mine, it's foreign to me and it scares me a little bit. That maybe mine's not exactly what it should be or whatever. But we say these things that it's a relationship, and then you find out people actually do have relationships with God, and they're not all being stamped out in a factory. It's like this guy grows up in the 1920s in America, and his faith looks different than the guy that grows up in the 1980s or the 2000s in Switzerland or whatever. It's just, a product of where you're growing up, what your position is, where you are in life, where you come from. It's all those things come into play.
I also think, sometimes it gets confusing because we misunderstand what faith actually is. Faith is a position of trust and reliance, dependability on the Lord. So it's faith in a person, right? So the will of the person is the one who is ultimately determining the outcome of stuff. The faith itself doesn't determine an outcome. You may arrive at an outcome by faith, and that's what Hebrews 11 dictates. But it's not as if, like you take the example of Sarah, for example, it says that Sarah received the child by faith, even though she was in childbearing years. We'll go back and read the story. She didn't actually have faith, right, in that story initially, because she does the whole flesh thing where she creates Ishmael and all that.
Yeah.
Different Ishmael, of course, from here. So ultimately that the son of the promise comes through the womb of Sarah, something that she grew to have faith in. That outcome was not determined because of Sarah's faith. It was determined because of the one Sarah had faith in, who is God. God is the one who determined that Sarah would bear a child. God is the one who determined that Gedaliah would die for his faith, but Jeremiah would live to go on to continue to write Lamentations, for example. So that just misunderstanding what faith actually is, it's not an outcome generator.
Faith
Right.
is not necessarily done with a Christian folk. Think of the centurion that came to Jesus and saying, this, and I'm not worthy, but will you know my child? I don't know how down the story, but then Jesus says, your faith has made the child well, or he goes to the place. I don't know the story. But the idea is that he had faith, he sought out the Lord because he needed help, and he had the faith that God was going to take care of the child, and he wasn't even so-called a follower of.
Well, that's why I think, like, what you guys are saying, that's why I think John is so specific in saying that faith is the victory. It's not like if Gedaliah survives the assassination, that's the victory. Faith is the victory that overcomes a different outcome. It may produce maybe a good outcome or a bad outcome right now, but this is the thing, this is the principal thing that overcomes the corruption of the world, which is not, it's not necessarily the world, but it's the people. It's the problem is the people, obviously. And so that's when he says faith is the victory, it's very narrow. It's narrowly defined. It's not like, if Daniel survives the lion's den, then that's the victory. Faith is the victory. He's already overcome the things that are the corrupting factors in his life. And so that's why I was thinking John says what he says. All good points. I'm going to move on real quick here. So chapter 41 ends with Johanan, after the assassination, Johanan, the guy that brought the original, he goes after Ishmael and essentially chases him into Ammonite territory. He chases him out. He chases him out of Judah. And you don't hear from Ishmael ever again, which is interesting. He shows up, he assassinates the leadership, and then he's gone out of the Bible. Interesting. I don't have an explanation for it. But this leaves the remnant now with a problem. The problem is Babylon has installed a governor. That governor has been assassinated. And there's only a handful of people, there's only a few people that could be that are left. So Nebuchadnezzar is probably going to hear about this and say, you guys killed the guy that I put in charge. Now I'll just wipe out the rest of you. So this is Johanan's view of it. So he comes back after chasing Ishmael, and what Ben said, I want to touch on it real quick. What you find out is Ishmael, the guy that assassinates Gedaliah, had been hired by the king of Ammon to assassinate it, essentially provided more instability in the region now, if there wasn't enough already. But he was hired, and so his motive, his ultimate motive to do this was money. That was how he got paid to do that. He got paid to assassinate Gedaliah. And you'll find out, I think, some of the most influential and consequential and destructive decisions have very simple motives. Sometimes it's just money. Sometimes it's just. I remember there was real quick. I don't mean to go too far off, but real quick. I think there's a story of a FBI agent, or two of them, FBI and a CIA guy. One of them, well, I can't remember which one, but he was essentially selling secrets to the Russians. This is like back in the 80s, maybe mid 90s. But he's essentially selling secrets to the Russians, selling. And so, our enemies, all that, whatever. Why was he doing that? What's the motive? The motive was money. Why did he need money? Because he had a gambling problem, and he was in debt. And the other make a large sum of money for him, because he had a paycheck, he got a salary every week, but that wasn't near enough to cover these gambling debts. He needed $20,000 next week. He needs it now. So he'd sell secrets tens of thousands of dollars this week, tens of thousands of dollars next week. And you find out that the motive isn't like he has this grand idea of what the United States should be, and we're doing terrible things, and not that we're not, but just he has these grand, high moral standards, and he's trying to press on and move the good forward and make this the best place, and you know, all those things. No, the motive was just greed, just money. He got himself in a bind, he just needed money. And so here's this guy, Ishmael. He takes a few bucks and goes and kills the governor. And so the motives, when you get to that, when you get to base level behavior, just like base level behavior, just earthy, worldly base level behavior, a lot of times the motives aren't much higher than that. They're just base level motives. They're just real basic, simple stuff. Ishmael had yeah. So yeah, he had a gambling debt. So after 41, Ishmael gets chased into Ammonite territory. He goes and obviously flees and goes to his friends and stays over there. And then Johanan sees the situation, and he gets scared because he thinks Babylon's going to come back on them, the ones that are left. Like they're going to say, we killed the guy you've installed. And so he starts to tell Jeremiah, hey, and tell other people, we need to go to Egypt. We need to go to Egypt. And funny how this thing just keeps going circle. They just keep having the same solution over and over to the problems. What is the thing? What is the thing that they keep forgetting? As we said it at the very beginning. Who is their fight with, ultimately? It's God. They're not fighting the Babylonians. The Babylonians are an instrument of this this whole thing. They're just an instrument in God's hands of this destruction of this old covenant and all that. And so they're not really the enemy. The problem is they have a problem with what God's told them to do from day one. And so Johanan says, well, if we get to Egypt, we'll be protected. So real quick, 42, 43. They go to, Johanan says, we need to go to Egypt. He gets a bunch of people. He even takes Jeremiah to Egypt with him. Takes everybody to Egypt. And Jeremiah gets to Egypt, and he takes some stones. Just, here's the story. He takes some stones, puts them in the, I think it's Taphanes, I don't know how to pronounce it, but something like that, one of the cities in Egypt. And he says, this will be Nebuchadnezzar's throne. Like he was going to come from the other side of the world to make sure he gets you here. All Jeremiah is telling them, just stay put. Just stay where you're at now. Stay in Judah. Nebuchadnezzar is not going to hurt you if you stay here. If you stay here, you don't look guilty. Guaranteed, you're not going to look guilty to him. But if you run, you're going to look guilty. And so they ignore Jeremiah's advice. They haul everybody to Egypt. Jeremiah gets to Egypt, and he puts some stones down, and he says, Nebuchadnezzar is going to show up over here in Egypt and is going to get all of y'all that wanted to flee to Egypt. Like, being in Egypt isn't a protection. It's not a protection. You're still fighting God. You're still fighting the same battle that you were fighting when this all started. You're still doing the same thing. Go ahead, Jake.
You said you're still fighting the same thing you've been fighting. I just wanted to show Isaiah chapter 30. So remember Isaiah being 100 plus years before this, back at the time of the northern kingdoms. Exile. Isaiah chapter 30, woe to the rebellious children, says the Lord, who take counsel but not of me, who devise plans but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, who walked down to Egypt and have not asked my advice, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. They've been turning to Egypt and other world powers for generations by this point. So
Yeah.
this isn't even like a new thing. Like God has continued to tell them
Right.
for hundreds of years. Stop going to Egypt. They are not your friend. You were enslaved to them. I delivered you from them.
And even if they are your friend, they can't do anything because you're not addressing the fundamental problems. You're still not addressing this. But yeah, they've been going to these nations for centuries now. They've been doing the same thing. And in the midst of all this, so chapter 42, have you ever done this? Have you ever made up your mind about something and then raised your hand as a prayer request? Hey, I got a big decision to make. Can you pray about this big decision? But you already know what you're going to do. You know, it's marriage, something like that. You're going to get married. We're going to elope or whatever. Pray about this relationship. See if we want to get married. And you already know, or just whatever the situation is. I say that because in chapter 42, Johanan and his group come to Jeremiah and they ask, Jeremiah, pray for us about what we should do. Jeremiah says, after 10 days, he says, stay put. Stay in Judah, stay in Jerusalem, don't go anywhere. You'll be safe if you stay here. And what does Johanan do? He takes everybody and he says, you're lying, Jeremiah, we're going to Egypt. And so he takes everybody to Egypt. And so after this, and so Jeremiah calls it dissembling, meaning you came to me pretending you wanted an answer, and you essentially hired me to get the answer, and it's not the answer you wanted, so you're just going to do what you were going to do to begin with anyway. And so Jeremiah gets on him for it, and he's like, you're just wasting if you're going to go to Egypt, you're going to Egypt. Don't ask me about it. And so they ask Jeremiah in chapter 42. He tells them stay. They disagree and go to Egypt. And then when they get there, Jeremiah sets the stones and says, Nebuchadnezzar's throne will reach all the way to here. He will come to Egypt. And he does. He ends up going to Egypt. Babylon goes to Egypt, and they take over Egypt. It happens. And so chapter 43, which is our last chapter, they call Jeremiah a liar. This is when they after he's given them the answer, they take them all to Egypt. And verse 8 is where we're talking about. Chapter 43, verse 8. Then came the word of the Lord unto Jeremiah in Tahpanhes, saying, take great stones in thy hand, hide them in the clay in the brick kiln, which is at the entry of Pharaoh's house in Tahpanhes, in the sight of the men of Judah. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will send and take Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and will set his throne upon these stones that I have hid. He shall spread his royal pavilion over them. So he will take Babylon all the way to the extent of Egypt. He is going to extend those borders. And when he cometh, he shall smite the land of Egypt and deliver such as for death to death, and such as for captivity to captivity, and such as for the sword to the sword. That's another bit of Revelation language, live by the sword, die by the sword, all that kind of stuff. And in verse 12, I will kindle a fire in the houses of the gods of Egypt, shall burn them, carry them away captives, and he shall array himself with the land of Egypt, as a shepherd putteth on his garment, he shall go forth from thence in peace. So Nebuchadnezzar is going to come to Egypt. He's going to capture or root out the remnant that was opposed to Jeremiah. He's going to burn the gods of Egypt. He's going to essentially destroy the political system of Egypt. And the message is Egypt is not a savior. Egypt is not deliverance. Egypt is not a rock. Egypt is not protection. Egypt is not going to be helpful in this. And sure enough, that's what happens. You can read about that, I think, in Ezekiel. He'll talk about this destruction. I think even Jeremiah's going to talk about it too. Verse 13, he shall break also the images of Beth Shemesh that is in the land of Egypt, and the houses of the gods of the Egyptians shall he burn with fire. That last verse indicates something that you may not right off the bat notice, but the gods of Beth Shemesh, what it is talking about is when the Israelites go into Egypt, they're going to take all of their idolatry into Egypt with them. And so not only the gods of Egypt, but the gods of Israel at the time are going to be intermingled in Egypt with all the people, all of the Israelites that have moved into Egypt. And you'll see that in Jeremiah 44. And so essentially Jeremiah is just saying that God's going to go in there and he's going to knock down all the gods you brought in to Egypt, and he's going to knock down the Egyptian gods too. And so that covers, again, wrapping this up with the fact of the matter is you are still opposing God in everything you're doing. This is the problem. This is the fundamental problem. And had you just allowed the Lord to destroy a system that he tried to build with you, but you guys have perverted it, but allow him to do what he needs to do to get the nation back on track. If you just allow him to do that, then it will be okay. In fact, probably the whole nation would have been saved. Jerusalem would have been saved if they would have all just repented and just got rid of all the gods and everything. So, but they didn't, and so the Lord just sweeps them all away. So it's the last days of Judah, end time, so to speak, of Judah, and they're still fighting the same battle that they started with. But that's chapters 40 through 43. That said, real quick, any questions, thoughts, comments?
You know, the scripture that says, I know that you can't hide from me. I know that you're at the bottom. I know you're at the top. I know you can't hide from God.
He is the reality.
Yeah.
I would add, with Egypt, I think chapter 46 is the other chapter that you were thinking of, where Egypt is, where Jeremiah curses Egypt, basically says Babylon's coming in. But if you remember in chapter 25, when Jehoiakim was king, this was also said, not Egypt. They're not even a people to go to. They're not a people to rely on. And that was before Jerusalem and the temple was destroyed.
Yeah.
It's just, it's the same, you see the same thing over and over again. Even
Yeah.
like Johanan, who goes to Jeremiah, asks for prayer, you see the same kind of concept or personality with someone like Zedekiah. Zedekiah goes and asks for Jeremiah's prayer, asks for Jeremiah to pray, and he's looking for a specific answer.
Right.
And Jeremiah essentially says, submit, you live. If you don't, you die. Zedekiah decides to run, and he gets caught.
Yeah.
And then his kids are killed in front of him, and then eyes are plucked off. And just,
And this is real quick. It's very narrow. What the problem is it's not that Egypt is evil in a way that Israel shouldn't be a light to the nations, like they shouldn't be friends or be a light to them. The problem is trust. You're trusting in something that is fundamentally unreliable. You're trusting in Egypt, and they are fundamentally unreliable. Not that you can't be their friends, not that you can't be a light to them, but they are fundamentally unreliable. And that's what the Lord is. Go ahead. What'd you say?
Don't hang out with those people. Every time we talk about this, it sounds like parents talking to a kid. You can be friends with them. Don't hang out with them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you just can't. Yeah, you can't trust them. You can't trust them to protect you from Babylon. You cannot trust them to be your rock and be your sanctuary. Yes. Yeah. And that's what I don't want. When we read about the Lord warning about these nations, I think we get in our minds that these are terroristic, terrible people, the problem that the Lord is trying to address is people's trust is in the wrong thing. It's fundamentally in the wrong thing. Like, I can have friends that don't believe in God and fellowship, and we can spend time together and try to influence them for good and stuff like that. But I can't put my soul in trust to them. I can't do that.
Yeah, just like people that, they think that a president or, they're gonna make everything okay. No, you need to be trusting in the Lord. You need to go back.
That's exactly.
You need to come back to the Lord.
That's why he says in the New Testament, you don't put any confidence in the flesh. It may even be able to do some things for a time, but it can't do some things forever. It can't do anything forever. You may have a good somebody on the throne for a time period, but he's going to die because he's flesh. He's going to die, and that leadership is going away. So I can't per se. I can't just say, well, the president's always right or the king's always right, or no, the flesh is fundamentally broken down. It's corruptible and it fails. It's all flesh is grass, like what Isaiah says, I think.
What you're describing too is that's the heart of idolatry, right? But that's also the foolishness of idolatry.
Exactly.
Look at Romans 1. There's a clear distinction between there's a creator and then everything else is created. There's one creator.
Exactly.
And everything else is created. Paul clearly lays that out in Romans 1. And his point in that is to say, you knew who the creator was. You knew what he was about.
Mm-hmm.
You knew, you could just look out at the creation and learn about this creator.
Right.
And then what ends up happening is, Paul says that they worshipped and served the creature rather than the creator, and the foolish heart was darkened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately what happens when you put your trust in anything that isn't the creator, anything else, whether it be Egypt, whether it be our president, whether it be whatever,
Mm-hmm.
any prophet, whatever, like you start putting your trust in other than the creator.
Yeah.
It may work for a time, like
Yeah.
you said, it could produce good for a time, because the flesh can be good for a while, but it's going to fail ultimately, because there is only one creator, and to put trust in anything else, like in that way, put ultimate trust in anything else,
Yeah.
is inherently
That's the thing. I mean, there is trust between friends. There has to be.
Right.
It's trust in specific things, like.
ultimate trust.
Yeah.
The trust of you're going to sustain me. You're going to keep me alive. You're
Yeah.
going to keep me going. You're going to
Bless you.
You're that kind of trust, the ultimate trust, the trust for salvation, the trust for life.
Yes.
Breath, that
There
kind
you
of
go.
thing.
Yep.
Ultimately, that trust needs to be in the Lord, and anything else is idolatry.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what's interesting is that the people of Israel turning to Egypt, you're right, they're going to carry their idols with them, but in a more like ethereal sense, that trust in the fact that they're walking to Egypt is in and of itself idolatry. Because
Mm-hmm.
God, the Creator, has already said something.
Right.
So they're like, but I don't like what God has said, so I'm going to go over here and get the answer I want.
I'm going to create the reality I want with the gods I
Exactly.
want.
And it doesn't work that way. God is the only creator, and so you either submit to his word or eventually you die. Anything else is fundamentally unreliable. Because
Yeah.
it's an idol, because it's created.
Absolutely. All right, good stuff. All right, I'll pray and we'll wrap it up. Father, thank you for this time together. Thank you for your words. Thank you for this place, this opportunity. Thank you for the food you provided for us. And thank you for the folks here. I pray you get us all home safe. And Have a good week this week. And I pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Sorry for the drug distraction, so that all people showing up to try to get bread.
What's happening?
Put it, well,
I haven't heard anything.
okay, good. Every time when I got up, Finn got up, there was somebody at the door talking to me.
Oh.
Oh, I'm like, what there it is? Sorry, people.
Apparently I zone out because I didn't catch none of that.
That was good. I'm glad all of you